When Caitlin Clark signed up for the LPGA Prom, no one expected the ripple effects to hit like this. A 1,200% spike in ticket demand. A 200% surge in attendance. Entire marketing plans rewritten overnight. Golf, of all places, saw the opportunity and moved fast. They positioned Clark not just as a guest, but as a headline act. And it worked. Her presence flipped a niche event into a mainstream spectacle, drawing coverage from top-tier outlets and commanding respect from golf elites like Nelly Korda.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Every swing, every moment. Turn into content, building brand equity far beyond her home sport. Meanwhile, the WNBA is still holding its breath. While other leagues capitalize on Clark's star power, the league that should be at the center of it all remains tentative, hesitant to shift old narratives or embrace a broader marketing vision. Clark is doing the heavy lifting herself, expanding women's sports reach, engaging new audiences, and showing what crossover success really looks like. But without full institutional backing, the WNBA risks missing a window to turn a generational athlete into a generational movement. You'd think a league starving for attention would roll out the red carpet for its most marketable player. But instead, the WNBA seems to be fumbling the bag again. And this time, it's Caitlin Clark who's caught in the crossfire. Fresh off her record-breaking college career at Iowa, Clark hasn't just entered the WNBA. She's redefined what it means to move a needle. From sold-out arenas to televised warm-ups dissected by sports analysts like Game 7 footage, Clark has done something rare. She's made women's sports unskippable. And yet, rather than embracing her as a generational force she clearly is, the WNBA is acting like she's a disruption. And now, there's a warning. Yes, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert made headlines after she drew a hard line, telling the world, "We don't allow this," referring to Clark's non-basketball ventures, especially her off-season interest in golf. That wasn't just a passive-aggressive side-eye. It was a clear message from the top: stay in your lane. But here's the thing. Caitlin Clark doesn't have a lane. She's building the entire highway. While the WNBA seems hesitant, even resistant, to her expanding influence, other leagues are practically begging for a piece of the Caitlin Clark effect. And no one's doing it better right now than the LPGA. When the LPGA announced Clark's appearance at the Pelican Golf Club Prom, something wild happened. Ticket demand surged 1,200%. Let that sink in. Not 100%, not 200, 1,200%. Attendance jumped 200%. Overnight, a golf event that would have otherwise flown under the radar became the hottest ticket in town. That's not hype, that's impact. And the LPGA got it. They didn't gatekeep. They didn't scoff at her lack of pro golf credentials. They said, "You want in? Let's go." They understood what the WNBA apparently doesn't. Caitlin Clark isn't just an athlete. She's a movement. Her presence isn't distraction, it's a spotlight. The demand didn't stop at ticket sales. Media outlets went into overdrive. Clark's golf swing got analyzed by The Athletic. Her warm-ups went viral. Her interactions with golf pros like Nelly Korda and Annika Stam, instant sports content gold. And we're not talking puff pieces. This was serious. Respected sports journalism treating Clark's every move like headline material. Why? Because she's not faking it. Clark's passion for golf is real. She's not showing up to play dress-up for a photo op. This is someone who wants to compete, to improve, to win. That competitive fire, authentic, visible, and relentless, is what makes her so compelling. It's also what makes the WNBA's response so baffling. While the LPGA is riding the Clark wave straight to the bank, the WNBA is out here setting boundaries. It's not just about golf. It's the broader message. Stay focused on our game. Don't chase other opportunities. Don't grow too fast. Don't outshine the brand. But Clark is a brand, whether the WNBA wants to admit it or not. Let's be honest. Women's sports are finally having their moment. And Clark is front and center, pulling fans from every demographic into arenas and broadcasts they've never cared about before. She's not just adding value. She's rewriting what value looks like in women's sports. And leagues that get it, they're cashing in. Meanwhile, the WNBA seems stuck in this outdated playbook. They want growth, visibility, and cultural relevance. But when they actually get it, they act like it's a problem. This isn't the first time we've seen this either. The league has a history of being slow to embrace crossover stars. It's cautious, protective, sometimes even territorial. And that's the problem. In today's media landscape, hesitation is expensive. You blink, and someone else will take what you didn't appreciate. Look at what the LPGA did. They didn't just let Clark show up. They marketed her, promoted her, turned the event into a crossover spectacle. And the results were undeniable. They gained a flood of new viewers, sold-out venues, and more media attention than they've had in years. Because they saw the opportunity and ran with it. The WNBA, they're still figuring out how to share clips on social media without getting ratioed. To be clear, no one's saying Clark should abandon basketball. This isn't about quitting one sport for another. This is about using your platform smartly. Strategically, she's not just staying relevant in the off-season. She's expanding, growing her brand, connecting with new fans, and bridging two very different sports communities in a way we rarely see. She's doing the work that entire marketing teams dream about for free. And it's not just about her personal brand. Her crossover appeal helps the WNBA. Every new fan she brings in through golf is a potential WNBA viewer. Every viral clip of her swing is another person asking, "Wait, who is this girl?" It's brand synergy 101. But instead of leaning in, the league is acting like it's some kind of PR risk. Spoiler alert, your biggest PR risk is ignoring the one athlete who's single-handedly growing your audience. And what's even wilder, other leagues see it. Other leagues want in. The LPGA's move wasn't a one-off. It was a blueprint, a masterclass in opportunistic marketing. They didn't try to shrink her to fit the moment. They expanded the moment to fit her. And it paid off big time. So let's talk economics. Because this isn't just about fandom and headlines. It's about money. Clark's involvement brought in ticket revenue, broadcast views, sponsorship opportunities, and global attention. That's real value. That's leverage. And if the WNBA keeps playing defense, they're going to miss a financial upswing entirely. This is what happens when leagues recognize authenticity and act on it. Clark's love for golf isn't a PR stunt. It's something fans can feel. And that matters. People follow authenticity. They support athletes who clearly care. Clark's the kind of athlete who doesn't turn it off when the cameras stop rolling. That's rare. That's powerful. And yet, the WNBA wants to regulate that, gatekeep it. That's not leadership. That's fear. The irony here is painful. Because the WNBA wants growth. It needs buzz. It asks for mainstream attention. And then when the attention actually shows up in the form of a once-in-a-generation crossover star, they flinch. They worry about control, about optics, about the brand. But the brand is shifting. And Caitlin Clark is driving that shift whether the WNBA likes it or not. We're not saying the league doesn't deserve credit for developing talent. But developing talent is only step one. Keeping that talent, supporting that talent, that's where most leagues fail. And right now, the WNBA is teetering on the edge of a massive missed opportunity. Because let's be clear, Caitlin Clark is already bigger than the WNBA. Not because she wants to be, but because the numbers say so. The LPGA recognized that. The media recognized that. Even casual sports fans recognize that. So why is her own league still catching up? Clark's story isn't just about what she does with basketball. It's about what she represents. She's a bridge between generations, between sports, between cultures. She's creating a new kind of stardom that doesn't fit inside one league, one sport, or one gender box. And if the WNBA can't adapt to that, it's not Clark who'll lose, it's the league. So here we are, a star athlete, doing everything right, competing hard, building her brand, uplifting women's sports. And instead of celebration, she gets a warning. Instead of full support, she gets the side eye. And while the LPGA basks in the glow of record-breaking success, the WNBA is still debating whether her glow is a problem. You can't grow while trying to contain the very thing fueling your relevance. If the WNBA wants to stay competitive in today's sports landscape, it needs to take a long, hard look at what the LPGA just did and ask itself one question. Why did we do that? If you're just as baffled by the league's hesitation, hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell us. Should the WNBA be doing more to support Caitlin Clark's crossover moments? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories just like this. We're breaking down the drama, one meltdown at a time. Let's keep going, because this isn't just about one golf tournament or one viral athlete. This is about a massive shift in how women's sports are consumed, marketed, and monetized, and how leagues are either keeping up or being left behind. Caitlin Clark isn't waiting around for anyone to hand her a marketing plan. She is the plan. She's building a model where an athlete doesn't have to be confined to one arena, where success isn't measured just in points or stats, but in how much gravity you carry when you enter a room. Or, in this case, the golf course. And here's what's wild. She didn't even have to win anything. Just showing up at the Pelican Prom changed the entire energy of the event. That's the level we're talking about. The kind of athlete whose mere presence turns a sleepy, mid-tier golf tournament into a headline-grabbing cultural moment. Do you know how rare that is? And let's not ignore how strategic this was. Because Clark didn't stumble into this by accident. This is part of larger off-season play. She's not just going home and disappearing until training camp. She's working, not just on her game, but on her reach. She's choosing visibility, choosing to keep her name, her face, and her brand in the spotlight, even when she's not on the court. That's marketing brilliance, because it keeps the momentum going. Most rookies go quiet after their season ends. Clark? She's making headlines in a completely different sport. And not just tagging along, she's participating, engaging, connecting with fans. She's in the photos. She's in the broadcast. She's the moment. And she's doing it with authenticity, which is everything. That's the piece no league can manufacture. You can pay for commercials. You can build hype. But you can't fake authenticity. People know when a star actually loves what they're doing. And Caitlin Clark lights up when she talks about golf. It's not performative. It's personal. And that connection is why her influence is so powerful. The LPGA saw it. They didn't need a focus group. They didn't need 6 months of branding meetings. They just said, yes, because that's what you do when a cultural phenomenon wants to help promote your sport. And yet, we're getting headlines from the WNBA that sound more like warnings and celebrations. What exactly are we warning her about? That she's too effective? That she's expanding the league's visibility too fast? That she's introducing the game to too many new fans? Help me understand. Because if Caitlin Clark can bring thousands of new fans to an LPGA event, how many could she bring to the WNBA? If the league would just let her cook? It's not just the golf numbers, either. Let's talk media. The coverage surrounding her participation in the prom was massive. Not fluff pieces. Real analysis. Major outlets covering her technique, discussing her athleticism, treating her like a serious presence, not a sideshow. Do you know how rare that is for a women's sports crossover? Usually it's a cute novelty. Look who showed up. Not this time. This time it was legit. That's because Clark has earned that level of respect. She's built a resume that commands attention. And the media sees it. The fans see it. Other athletes definitely see it. So why doesn't the WNBA seem to fully see it? Maybe it's discomfort. Maybe it's control. Maybe it's just the league trying to figure out how to keep up with a star who's outpacing their infrastructure. But that's not Clark's problem to solve. It's the league's. And the longer they hesitate, the more obvious it becomes. The WNBA wasn't ready for this kind of spotlight, but Caitlin Clark is. And you know what's even more frustrating? This should be the moment where the WNBA finally breaks through to mainstream, year-round cultural relevance. They have the talent. They have the momentum. They have her. But instead of leaning into that, they're still trying to manage her like she's a rookie who might get ahead of herself. Spoiler alert, that ship sailed back in Iowa. The days of playing it safe are over. Fans want stars with personality, versatility, and reach. They want athletes who show up on their timelines, in their spaces. On the court, sure, but also on the golf course, on TikTok, in highlight reels and podcast interviews. Clark is already doing that. The WNBA just has to let her be great. Look at what other leagues are doing with their stars. The NFL? They build entire campaigns around one player's off-season workout. The NBA? They know how to turn a shoe deal into a global marketing machine. And here comes Clark, handing the WNBA the perfect PR package. Record-breaking talent, authentic crossover appeal, and built-in media buzz. And their response? We don't allow this. Not exactly the growth mindset you'd hope for. So now we're in this bizarre split-screen moment. On one side, you got the LPGA executing one of the smartest media plays in recent memory. On the other side, the WNBA holding press conferences to clarify what their players aren't allowed to do. It's a masterclass in contrast. And while the LPGA gets flooded with new eyes, new money, and new fans, the WNBA risks looking like the only group that doesn't realize Caitlin Clark is the most valuable asset they've ever had. Let's not forget, sports are a business. And in business, you don't sideline your biggest driver of revenue and attention. You don't ask her to tone it down. You amplify her. You clear the way for her. You say, what do you need? And then deliver, because the game has changed. We're no longer in the era where leagues control every narrative. Athletes have the power now. They have the platforms. And Caitlin Clark is using hers brilliantly. So the question is, does the WNBA want to grow with her or hold her back? And more importantly, what happens if another league figures out how to give her what she's not getting now? Because Clark is proving that crossover athletes are the future, that the borders between sports, leagues, and audiences are thinner than ever. And whoever figures out how to embrace that first is going to win. Big. It could have been the WNBA. It should have been the WNBA. But right now it's the LPGA. And unless something changes, that's going to be the story. Caitlin Clark tried to bring a whole new generation of fans to the WNBA, and they told her to slow down. So while the world watches her redefine what it means to be a women's sports icon, the question isn't whether Caitlin Clark is ready for this moment. She is the moment. The real question is whether the WNBA has the vision and the guts to keep up. Caitlin Clark didn't just show up and disrupt the system. She exposed it. And now, every move she makes is throwing a spotlight on just how slow some institutions are to evolve. Think about it. When was the last time a rookie in any sport had this much cultural pull? Not just basketball fans. We're talking golf lovers, casual sports viewers, young women looking for someone to root for, even dads who just happen to be watching every single game. Clark isn't playing one lane. She's activating every demo. That's power you can't teach. That's once-in-a-generation energy. And yet, here we are, watching the WNBA flinch every time she steps outside the box. But let's get one thing straight. This box they want to stay in, it doesn't exist anymore. The modern athlete isn't just an athlete. They're a brand, a media entity, a walking business. Caitlin Clark knows that. Her team knows that. The LPGA figured that out in one weekend. So why is the WNBA still debating it like it's a committee decision? There's a huge disconnect here. Because while other sports are moving toward crossover appeal, the WNBA is trying to preserve some idea of purity or structure that no longer works in the social media era. This is in 2005. Fans don't follow athletes because they play by the book. They follow the ones who break it, remake it, and make it fun to watch. And Clark? She's rewriting that book in real time. Her involvement in that LPGA Prom wasn't just a golf event. It was a cultural moment. It was a case study in how one athlete can boost attendance, media coverage, and public interest with zero gimmicks. Just authenticity, passion, and sheer star power. And the LPGA? They played it perfectly. They didn't gatekeep. They didn't act confused. They didn't worry about how it fit the brand. They recognized an opportunity and elevated it. Now contrast that with what Clark's own league is doing. Instead of riding the wave, the WNBA seems caught in this old-school mindset of control. It's the vibe of a league that's more concerned with containing its stars than empowering them. And that's not just a PR issue. It's a growth issue. Because the leagues that win in the modern era are the ones that know how to scale with the moment. Look at how Formula One exploded with Drive to Survive. Look at what the UFC did with Conor McGregor. Even the NFL learned how to package personalities. And yet, here's the WNBA trying to figure out whether a viral golf swing counts as a distraction. Newsflash, if your biggest star is trending across multiple sports, that's not a distraction. That's a blessing. And Clark is doing this during her off-season. She's not skipping games. She's not half-committing. She's showing up for everything and growing the entire ecosystem of women's sports in the meantime. It's an off-court strategy that works in service of her main sport. But the WNBA's nervous energy, that's the part that's holding things back. Because fans see it. When a league is hesitant to fully back its stars, it shows. It leaks out in press conferences, in awkward statements, in missed promotional moments. And that hesitation creates a vibe of distrust, not just between the league and the athlete, but between the league and its audience. And this audience? They're not here for lukewarm support. They're here for growth, for excitement, for change. They're showing up in record numbers, buying jerseys, posting highlight clips, arguing stats on Twitter, flooding arenas with signs and chants. And most of that energy, it's Clark-driven. This is the golden hour. This is when you double down, not pull back. Caitlin Clark is not just a rookie phenom. She's a blueprint for how to market women's sports in 2025 and beyond. And the leagues that figure that out first will be the ones who dominate the next decade, not just in ratings, but in relevance. So when the WNBA steps in and says, we don't allow this, they're not just restricting a player. They're stalling the culture. They're signaling that they don't trust a very star who's brought them more eyes in one season than they've had in years. And that might be the real issue. Because if the WNBA can't evolve fast enough to meet the moment Caitlin Clark has created, someone else will. Another league, another brand, another platform. There are too many outlets ready to say yes for the WNBA to keep saying wait. So as Clark keeps moving forward, breaking barriers, drawing crowds, changing expectations, the WNBA has a choice. Evolve with her or get left behind. If you're watching this like, what is going on over there? You're not alone. Hit that like button if you think Clark deserves more support from her own league. Drop a comment if you've been following her golf takeover and saw this coming. And make sure to subscribe. We've got more breakdown, more meltdowns, and more drama coming every week. Don't miss it.